Reusse Unchained. Okay. Pat tried to push back and lash out at me here, but we said let's hit record before you do that. So here's the report 3 minutes ago from Shams, ESPN's Shams. ESPN reporting the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant's business partner, Rich Kleiman from, is it Boardroom or whatever, are sorting through trade options with interested teams being Houston, San Antonio, New York, Miami, and the Timberwolves.
Okay, so let's see. Then we're in the triple apron if we go there. Is
Well,
there
you'd have to, in theory, you would send out enough Julius, whatever, like
Julius is gone.
Gobert, and
Wait, well, what if Julius? We don't know if Julius is opting in though. That's the
well,
problem, right?
they might know at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. That's true. And maybe I mean, are they gonna? They're gonna take some players too, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, back Phoenix. So what are you gonna keep Anthony and let everybody else go and have this idiot who's gonna play 42 games for you and is 90 years old gonna be your star? That's we've already seen the downside of the new ownership if their egos are so high that they want to bring in this 37-year-old guy who's hurt half the time. It's the idiotic thing of all time. I can't believe they're that stupid. This is all of a sudden you're going to beat Oklahoma City because you got a 37-year-old who can't guard anybody. It's ridiculous. But they keep throwing it out there, so who knows? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
certainly not going to say I'm more of an NBA insider than Shams. I'll tell you that. So
Listen, you've heard of the Purple Daily Anonymous tip line,
yes,
where the Flagrant Howls Anonymous tip line has been active the
it's
last couple
hot,
weeks,
right?
and
Okay.
let's just say that we have it on fairly good authority via the Flagrant Howls Anonymous tip line that the reports of Wolves coming close to getting Durant at the deadline, that it was perhaps the Suns that actually pulled the plug on a deal that was fully formed. So, I mean,
So
there's clearly an appetite for Kevin Durant here.
allegedly, who is going to go to the Suns on a flagrant house? Who is going to go to the Suns?
We don't
What are they
have
going to
that part
take
of the
Mike
equation.
Conley because you're going to take Mike Conley because they're the same age? Is that except Conley's healthier? That's the only difference. Oh God, I can't believe that. Now, if he actually had married that young lady who played for for the
Wolves.
Lynx,
Yeah.
and then and maybe lived here for five
Be one of
years
us.
off season, he'd be one of us. Then I can see it. But really, okay, all
Yeah.
right.
I think like where I'm at is if you can kind of draw a line on the roster of there's the old guard, the Rudy, Julius, put Conley in that mix, maybe DiVincenzo. If you can trade from that stash and try it with Durant, okay. But I would not be giving up Jaden McDaniels or
No,
Dillingham,
no,
Terrence
no.
Shannon Jr. Like I don't know.
Well, McDaniel's for sure. I wouldn't make that. I wouldn't make that trade one for one if it wasn't any financial thing. McDaniel's is, you know, if Edwards is 1A, the last half of the year, McDaniels was a better player than Edwards. McDaniels was their best player. He guards people always. He's. I gotta think. I gotta think. If you put him on the market, you'd have 20 teams trying to get him from you
Oh yeah.
because he's 6'11" and he can guard a guard for God's sakes.
And he's
How many
pretty
of those
cheap.
people? Yeah, he's still pretty cheap. Yeah, I would say okay if you can get rid of Rudy, if they'll take Rudy, then I'll go get Durant. If they got to take Rudy though, get the Rudy. If you get Durant, get Rudy the hell out of here
Yeah.
because all he's going to do is make it even harder for anybody to get to the basket. So I if you get Durant and Rudy on the same. Oh, you've ruined my weekend.
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday too.
I
I
know.
love it. We've already ruined your weekend before the
Yes,
U.S. Open
that's right.
starts. This is
That's
great.
right. Yeah, right. Oakmont. I'd rather play Oakmont than get Kevin Durant shoot 700. So yeah, I don't know. What are they? Do they think it's going to get? Who would think it's going to get them over the top? I don't get it.
Yeah,
You know?
it's and also the way that this is such a crazy off season because you've got these two forces kind of combining here where there's only one team with meaningful cap space, the Brooklyn Nets, but then
Mhm.
there's all these other teams that are pressed up near or above the second apron and all the penalties, and really the only way that most teams can change their roster is through a trade. You
Yeah.
know, there's been a lot of other years where there's like six teams with supermax cap space and it's a bidding war, but that's why there's going to be a lot of activity. And the Timberwolves, because they swapped out Cat for like more tradable contracts, they've got these pieces you can kind of fit together and this guy for something bigger. So I think it's
Yeah,
going to be crazy.
but by the way, Oklahoma City's got cap space. You think they want to bring him back? I bet Oklahoma City's saying, "Hey, we had that guy when he was 28. He was pretty damn good. He was one of the best players in the league." Uh, By the way, I sat down last night, got ready to watch the NBA game, and found out it's not being played till tonight. What are we
Yeah,
doing here?
it's
What are we
amazing.
doing here on the schedule? It
Yeah.
doesn't seem
What
like
do
they
you
play
does it
for
bother
3 days.
you that it's by far the lowest rated first two
No,
games of an NBA
no,
finals and
it's all market size. Who cares? I mean, it's great basketball. You got two great teams. You got two of the most exciting teams we've had in the finals. They're young. I mean, Indiana. Oklahoma City is one of the best teams I've seen because of in the last 10 years, and Indiana is miraculous. What don't you like about it? You got the best player in the league. He's got seven helpmates who are terrific, and we got the big lanky guy from right here, and then you got Indiana is who should have gotten beat in the first round, and they just keep coming up with miracle victories. Just because they're from small markets, I guess that's got to be the reason, right? What? Who would people rather be watching than these two teams?
well, we love to make a big deal out of it because it's like, is this a sign that the NBA is popular? No, they've got their TV deals are still going to be ridiculous either
Yes,
way. It's a
yes.
sign that you've got a team from Oklahoma City playing a team from Indiana. And I would say the only like knock on the NBA would be with their national TV games and their marketing, they've
Mm.
been so desperately trying to keep the LeBron, Steph, Durant
Yes, right.
era
Yeah,
alive, as
let's let
opposed to
the
showing Halliburton and Anthony
yes.
Edwards
Yeah.
and some of these guys.
And here's the other thing. The youth of America, which is part of your audience, 21 and above, whatever, they don't sit down and watch a 2 hour and 45-minute sporting event, but they are watching more clips. They are more interested in the NBA than they've ever been. It's just that they're not interested in it for 2 hours and 45
Yeah.
minutes. They're interested, I mean, it's a completely different world. And, the NBA's great. You can hear more NBA conversation than you've heard since Bird and Magic. It's just that people don't
It's
sit and
fragmented.
watch the entire game.
You know
And
what I
let's
did to
face
I did
it,
this.
I do you watch all 245 or do you click and come back and what do you do?
I click and I mean for finals, big playoff games.
Yeah.
You know, I'm also like I turned 40, so I'm like more old school than some of
Yes,
the
right.
audience here. But you know what I did? I did the same thing you did last night, which is my first thought was, oh, I think the finals are on tonight, and then I
Yeah.
realized they weren't. But then I was like, I want to watch basketball because I love the finals. So I went to YouTube and I literally just like let the algorithm serve me something, and I wound up watching. It was like a 40-minute something. The top 100 NBA plays of the last 25 years.
Yes.
And I just watched like
Yeah, right.
Chris
And then
Webber and
And then you can go back and there were 12 minutes, there were 10 minutes left. Now there's three,
yeah.
so in that second quarter or something. Now, let me get this straight. This guy that they came to me like, how many years ago? 2010. So that's what, 15 years ago? The guy that came to me 15 years ago, and they said, I know you don't know anything about this guy, but will you take him as your partner? He's only 24 years old, uh, and being the, wonderful human being that I am, I said, yeah, let's give it a try. You're now 40? God
I
almighty, that's
know.
very frightening.
I
That must
know.
make me 80, which it does
Yeah,
almost.
because I think the gap between us is the same as it
Yeah,
was
it
15 years
doesn't.
ago. Yeah.
It doesn't change. That's the thing.
You
But
know what's crazy too is like in 2010 when we started the Reusse and Mackey show. Little did I know or you know that 15 years later there'd be a version of it where we're still doing this, but it's going to be on camera on YouTube
yes,
and
right.
Spotify and Apple and
Yes, yes,
clips on
right.
TikTok.
I mean, it was a bold. I remember it was like on a Wednesday. All of a sudden, I'm driving around and we're blowing up the station. Right? I think Ginny called me and said, because the morning show, which wasn't a big hit, I must admit.
The ESPN one.
Yeah, the one that I did on the morning show,
Oh,
the five, the 5:31.
that
I
one.
think she called me on a Wednesday and said Monday we're a sports station or something like that. So but we couldn't use the ESPN name right away, right? We
Yeah, so it
because
was
they still had an association with KFAN, right, or
y-
something. So
yes, this is all like in the early part of 2010 and I was actually still at KFan as a part-timer until like late March and all
yeah.
these conversations were happening, but yeah, you guys went from AM 1500 the talk station to 1500 like sports talk 1500 or
Yeah,
something for a
sports
couple
talk.
months
800,
because
yeah.
you wanted to flip to sports so there was a lead into the Twin season that hey, we're sports,
Oh,
but you
that's right.
couldn't contractually call it ESPN Radio Twin Cities until like April 10th or April 12th of
Yeah,
2010. So,
it was some goofy like, but I know I had 48 hours notice or something. So it was interesting. Now, you didn't join immediately then, did it? Did I try to do that by myself for a while?
you
I
did
can't
it.
remember.
You and Roofs did it for a while, like for a few weeks, and then I joined like middle of March during. I think
Oh,
you were even in Fort Myers, maybe, because I was doing.
yeah,
We were doing shows with you in
yeah,
Fort
right.
Myers and
That
me, and
could have been it.
we
Yeah,
had like we met at a coffee shop once, and then you went to Fort Myers,
I have
and then there.
reflected on that whole radio period though. And I talked to Reavers, and we had him later on, and blah blah blah. And I said, I think that my whole strategy of what can we do to agitate him today was just not a good strategy. I should have been kissing ass like Paul Allen, and maybe we would have been more
Yeah,
successful.
well, I mean,
Right? We would have been.
Barrero's been very successful,
Yes, that's true.
not kissing
Yes,
ass.
that
So
that is true. Hey, uh, SWR, buddy.
Oof.
Declan, it's
Oof.
not going to work throwing that crap.
No.
It's. I don't think he can. So what do they do? There's nothing. Morris is hurt too, right? The other pitcher at
Yes.
St.
Andrew
Paul,
Morris.
he's got a bad shoulder, and there's no fifth option, is there? But I don't. They can't run him out there more than once more and watch that.
No,
He's
that was
he's
bad. He's trying to and he got called up obviously prematurely because of the injuries. He's like working, I think, on a new changeup too, and he's trying to locate that. That wasn't working. Fell behind almost every hitter. Yeah, they're gonna have to wear it and cross your fingers when
You
Woods,
know who's
Richardson, and
next,
even
don't
Festa.
you? You know who's next? The Dauber. We might not have seen the Dauber's last start for the
is
Twins.
he stretched out? He's been like a long guy or like a middle
Yeah,
reliever,
he
right?
can go up. What does he care? He can go up there and flip it up there, and hope he gets some ground balls. Now that Ed Julian's not playing second, he can get the ground ball, and you might not. Eddie had 4 hits the other
He's
day,
hitting a
though.
little
That's
bit. He's starting to hit a
good.
little bit. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
We'll
but
see.
I don't know. They gotta be working on something, right? Not big, but at least a warm body that can pitch someplace.
Yeah, I
That
mean, I think Pat in the last week, right? Since Thursday's the debacle against the Athletics to end, and yesterday I think 2 losses of 10 plus runs. Like they've gotten
yes,
tapped and by both those guys in Festa yesterday, who starts
yeah,
tonight
and now you
against
got him
Texas, and
tonight.
then
Yeah,
Simeon yesterday.
yeah. It's just it's a it's modern baseball that I don't blame. Yeah, they're all injured now, and they used to pitch 300 innings and all that crap. They got X-ray machines. They got MRI machines now. They can see there's something wrong there. Okay, dummies. But I mean, in modern baseball, unless you're 12 deep like the Dodgers, you're this can happen to you on Thursday. Everything's looking good, and 2 days later, you don't have two of your starting pitchers, and you're all of a sudden you're in big trouble. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it is not good right now because I just got a text about a half hour ago from my son, Mr. Baseball, who studies this stuff. He says, "This guy can't even be a reliever for you,"
Yeah.
So after watching him last night,
Yeah, I mean,
so
with Festa and even Zebi, who has a shoulder strain, we'll see how
yeah,
significant that is. But like you can see a path where if those guys don't work as starters, there's a lot of encouraging things that could be bullpen arms there
but
with
that doesn't do you
Simeon.
any good. You
Yeah,
see that?
with Simeon, I don't know, and he had a great year last year. He popped up, but I think he has to work on some pitch development there, and now he has to throw these changes to big league hitters and not to a bunch of triple layers, which is going to be tough for him.
Well, yes, it can blow up in a hurt when you're fragile like this Twins team is fragile. So who's an extra player to try? What position player might somebody want to? Hey, how about let me get onto this. Why is Carlos standing on second base when there's one out
Oh, that was
and the ball might he's going to tag up and go to third. We don't want you at third with two outs, dummy. We want you to score when the ball hits off the wall. You got to be halfway. What was that? The guy's making $36 million. He's running the bases like a 12-year-old little leaguer. That was unbelievable.
Well, Garcia also like he baited him and baited Jeffers. Like both there was two instances during that inning where it was like, why isn't this player flipping moving? And Garcia lost one ball in the sun, but then just happens to come right to him. I think he baited Correa. Like I think he completely baited him.
Yeah, but, but,
And
but, but what? I mean, what was the bait? I mean, if you catch, you, getting to, for 100 years, getting to third base with two outs hasn't been a big thing. Maybe they'll throw a wild pitch. Okay, that happens once every 2 3 weeks. But I it was just it proved to me his head's not in the game like it should be. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. I
I
mean, at
Maybe
this
I'm
point,
overreacting, but I did throw some curse words at the TV.
I mean, it's been an underwhelming big picture the last handful of years. It's been an underwhelming signing or
Yes,
signings
it
because they
has.
signed him twice.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, and they basically, Boris handed them to that they really had no choice. He made it because he said, "I'll give you 200." They said, the Twins said, "Well, we'll give you 200 million. That's $100 million discount." And he said, "Yes." They didn't expect him to say yes. For goodness sakes.
Where do I
Yeah,
sign? Yeah.
yeah.
Hey,
Pat,
who do you? Go ahead, Dex.
do you have a pick for the U.S. Open for this weekend?
God, I don't. Hey, I'm going to go on a limb. Scotty Scheffler. If there's ever a course made for his game, and winning it at about 5 under, which is just fine with him. Now the fact that if he's played uh, 45 holes and he's in the middle of the pack on Saturday, that doesn't mean he's not going to win because he's going to, make 2, 3 more birdies and then make 4 birdies on Sunday. And this course is a monster, though. So you're not going to see low numbers, that's for sure.
No, we were going through the history. So this is the 10th U.S. Open played at
Oh,
Oakmont,
it's
going
10.
back to like
I thought it was a 9. Okay, 10.
I
Okay.
think it's 10, going back to 1927, and the lowest winning score in relation to par is -5, and it's been done a couple times,
But it
including
is
last
where
time.
Johnny Miller shot his 63, which is one of the most famous rounds of golf of all time, to win it on the last day. But I was reading about it when they built it, like in the late 1800s, And the owner of the golf course was the designer, and they had no trees, which they now don't have any trees either. But they put this heavy sand in the bunkers, and then they raked it with 50-pound rakes that left furrows, like in the bunkers, because the guy wanted to punish you. So basically, if you hit it in a trap, it was sitting between two, sitting
Wow.
basically in a hole of sand. Half the time they had to hit it out sideways to get it out of there.
Oh man.
Those those early golf course designers were sadists. They now plus the guys were hitting at 180 yards off the tee probably, but anyway, it was the furrows. That must have been something.
Yeah.
50-pound rakes. They still have some in their history. You can. I guess they got a little museum over there. You can go see all this stuff that they had when they started.
So you're picking Scotty, and no confidence in Dustin Johnson to defend his Oakmont U.S. Open title from 9 years ago, huh?
He'll be back with Paulina Saturday morning. Don't worry.
They just released a photo shoot of like them shirtless, Dustin Johnson, kind of a weird deal. He's got his live money. He's
That's it.
doing
Well,
just fine,
I
I
wonder
think.
how I wonder how it'll work for DeChambeau there. I mean, because there's no woods they hit it in. They're gonna have thick rough, but
He can hit it out of that rough. I mean, he's
oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, he's won U.S. Opens just by hitting it further than the trouble. A lot of before. Didn't he win an Open? Or did he win an
he
Open?
won the was it the Open last year or was it the PGA that he won last year?
Yeah, I don't know. A couple of years ago, he won something where he was, everybody's saying, he's got to hit it. You got to get around the corner here. He just hit it over the trees by about
Right.
50 yards.
It was the U.S. Open last year
Oh,
that
he
he
did.
won.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yep. He came from behind and then he stayed for like 3 hours and just like hung out with people with the trophy. And then he went around for like the next week or two and just documented on his YouTube channel. So, yeah.
Anyway, I was out at the Delano ballpark yesterday. I was doing a thing on
Oh, it's a great ballpark.
their high school team, which is in the state tournament for the first time since 2014. You should see it.
It's a great, the Ivy.
They got ivy on the fence that'd make Wrigley Field jealous.
Is that your first time there?
Oh no, I've been there a lot, but it's just
Okay.
to have it look that good in early June is just unbelievable.
It is. I'll tell you what, though, because
Ballpark.
Buffalo High School and Legion, we used to play there all the
Okay.
time, and the mosquitoes will eat you
Oh,
alive
okay.
in the outfield.
One
So
reason is the grass is so plush. I think it's a problem. Oh God, yeah, the mosquito. When is height mosquito season? Like late June, basically. We haven't hit it yet, right?
Yeah. I feel like if we get a warmer Memorial Day, like, because that's when they kind of hatch out and get out of the water and stuff, especially if you're like you're at the cabin. But
Yeah,
I feel like they haven't really
haven't
been
been
a
out there.
problem yet.
No, but I got to tell you one thing, and then I'll go. I was bringing in groceries from the garage a couple days ago. Always shut the garage door when you do that, because
yeah, Dex.
the first fly of the year got in the house, and you got no chance against the first one of the year because you know, if it's August, they come and land on the TV when it's dark in a room. You go over and
Oh, that's the
swat
worst.
them. They
It is
don't
the
move.
worst.
This thing's going zoom. He knows he's tormenting me, and I haven't even seen him yet, but I hear him all the time. The first fly of the year. I hate the first
You
fly.
got to starve him out. He'll be slow in about a week and a half, but
Yes,
you got to wait him out a little bit.
or maybe
Yeah.
you should just leave food out on the counter and let him get loaded up, and then he
Pass it
Slows
out.
down.
gets fat, and then you can get him. But anyway,
Yeah,
all right,
that's a good
Jets.
strategy. All right, Pat, we'll talk to you on Friday, sir.
Friday we got Judley out at minicamp.
Oh yeah, Judd's camp notes are in full. Judd has 4 new camp notebooks. He filled 7 pages yesterday.
I'd
A
say
multicolor pen.
Judge's doing great on the Vikings, but my Star Tribune is kicking your ass on flag football. Damn it! So don't. By the way, early deadline started last night. Early deadline, so we didn't have a. Even the Twins ended at what 9:40. Didn't. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Just don't throw it
Oh,
in
I
there.
was
Yeah.
telling Judd yesterday, if we had these early deadlines when I was drinking, I'd be dead by now because we used to run across the street at 12:55 at Luigi's to get a drink. Now you'd be doing it at 9:30 for
Yeah.
God's
You have like a 5-hour runway until bar
those,
close. It'd be
yeah,
crazy.
that would not have been good. That would not have been good. All right, see you.
All
Goodbye.
right, Pat. There he
Thanks,
is.
Pat.
Reusse Unchained on Score North.